Hey guys, it's Paradise, and Crimson Desert is shaping up to be a game that absolutely needs to be on your radar. From its massive open world and crazy looking quests to its combat mechanics and intense boss fights, everything seems to be lining up nicely. But of course, trailers only really tell part of the story. Actually playing the game is always a better indicator of what it's really like. And luckily, we were recently invited to go hands-on with Crimson Desert for the second time, with the first time being at Gamescom last year, and things have definitely improved. We got to go deep into some of its content, including an intense story mission and 4 epic boss battles, each with their own unique mechanics, so let's break down everything that we experienced. First up, as an overview, you will play as Cliff. He's the captain of a mercenary band called the Greymanes, and as you adventure through the continent of Pywell, which is being torn apart by war, you'll recruit allies, face powerful enemies, and unravel the mysteries behind a looming catastrophe. In the demo, we started off strong, with an intense clash against a rival faction called the Blackbeards. This wasn't just an average fight though, the companions in your group were literally fighting for their lives all around you, creating a fairly epic and cinematic battle where it did seem like if you didn't get to them in time during the battle, some of them may actually die. But after all of that chaos, we could then take on 4 unique bosses. The first was Hexe Marie, who was recently revealed, and we actually have gameplay of that fight already up on the channel, so you can check that out afterwards. Then we revisited the Reed Devil, a local boogeyman, and while he is small, he's very mobile and constantly does surprise attacks against you, making the battle somewhat challenging. Mid-fight, he even spawns a bunch of phantom scarecrows that you have to destroy with special attacks before the fight properly continues, and while you do that, he becomes even more aggressive. Next was the Stag Lord. He's a fierce warrior that's guarding the ruins of an ancient kingdom. He's fairly predictable in his attacks, but does hit very hard with his sword and shield combos, punishing you heavily if your timing is off. One of the cool things about this fight is that after defeating him, you could actually take his sword and shield and use it yourself. And finally, there was the Queen Stoneback Crab that brought something completely different to the table. It was more of a cinematic boss battle about destroying key weak points on its back, while it is constantly trying to shake you off and fling you into the air. But luckily, if this happens, you do have your crow wings for gliding, at least if you have enough stamina, and you would drain stamina while on its back. So this battle did feel quite unique compared to the others. These different fights did teach us a lot about the core gameplay. Your health bar sits at the bottom left corner next to the minimap, and you can even access items and consumables mid-fight by using a radial wheel by holding down the left D-pad. This was super handy for using quick healing items or swapping your ammo or weapons around. Above your health though is your energy gauge, which is like this leaf-shaped icon. This would charge when you're near enemies and gives you access to various special attacks and powers, from powerful knockdowns to slowing down time, rapid firing arrows, and even high jumps that go into devastating aerial combos. Speaking of the combat though, Crimson Desert systems do feel pretty unique compared to other open world games. You have access to multiple weapon types, different combo strings, wrestling moves, parries, dodges, blocks, and more. The controls of your attacks, abilities, and moves utilize both your face buttons and triggers, even in different combinations with each other, letting you seamlessly chain moves and special abilities together. But it was quite a learning curve to get used to. One of the standout moves in this demo that we particularly enjoyed was by pressing both bumpers that would reflect sunlight off of your sword, briefly blinding nearby enemies. It was a fairly flashy mechanic that felt incredibly satisfying to use. Another cool ability would let you unleash an endless flurry of strikes, extending it as long as you kept pressing R1, which we found was an amazing way to dish out a lot of damage, but it would both consume and seemingly replenish your energy. We noticed that the movement was significantly improved since the last time we played at Gamescom as well. Jumping and pressing R3 would use energy to launch you high into the air. If you then combine this with the spiderweb grapple tool, it would allow you to swing through the air kind of like Spider-Man. This maneuver was crucial during the crab boss fight and was notably improved since we first tried it. It honestly felt amazing to pull off and visually was just very cool. For ranged attacks though, we did experiment with the explosive arrows. These arrows packed a real punch and were super effective, so spamming them was definitely a viable option if you prefer more ranged combat over melee. but we aren't sure if these were a limited resource that you would have to craft and farm for, and if that is the case, then you're probably not going to be spamming them too much. But honestly, the melee combat was just so satisfying. This is probably where I will spend most of my time. You could grab enemies, suplex them, kick opponents down, do different combos. It just felt very fluid and very dynamic. On top of that, with the sword and shield, you basically had two different defensive options. You could block attacks which would drain your stamina heavily and allow for powerful parry and counter attacks. But what was interesting is that the parry felt more like a follow-up move you would do after getting hit, rather than something that was time-based as you're about to get hit. Meanwhile, dodging was both a quick sidestep or a full dodge roll depending on if you tap or double tap, and this required precise timing but rewarded you by replenishing your stamina. So both of these defensive options seemed to work well together. You could block a bunch of attacks and have your stamina fully drained, then switch to dodging to replenish it. We also loved how environmental elements were factored heavily into the combat too. You could kick or throw enemies into fires, off of cliffs, or even use walls and terrains to outsmart charging bosses. It really felt like every fight was intentionally designed around the world itself, making the battles super immersive and just overall more cinematic. The controls though did take a while to get used to. They're super different to other games, but we were told you would slowly learn these different moves and combos as you actually played through, whereas in the demo we played, you just had the whole toolbox and you didn't really know how to use it all. But that said, it was still super fun and it felt rewarding to really learn it. It just made us really want to sink our teeth into the game to fully get an understanding of things, the open world and the main campaign, and I really want to know exactly what's going on with the dragon that we see teased in the trailers. Crimson Desert is slated to release this year at the moment, and fingers crossed there's no delays, so it shouldn't be too long before we can all jump into what is looking like an amazing looking adventure. But hey, this is just my take from having played a demo of it a couple times. Let us know what you're most excited for about Crimson Desert down in the comments, and don't forget to drop a like if you did enjoy this little insight into what we got to play. We'll have more coming soon, so make sure you're subscribed and we'll see you next time. Here at Arekkz Gaming, we're two friends who love to play games. You have me, Paradise, as well as 26.
Our goal is to keep the videos as concise as possible by cutting out any of the fluff and focusing on what really matters with high quality videos.
So make sure you're subscribed down below for more videos on your favorite games coming very, very soon.